under the bus, but it was Montgomery County. When she got to Montgomery County, they looked at her chronological age and saw she was supposed to be in 4th grade, not 6th grade. And so they were literally saying, no, this child is going to be put back in 4th grade. Now, before the interstate compact, and I'm looking at this placement and attendance flexibility, or even enrollment, the sending school or the receiving school has to honor the sending school's placement. So because that child was in 6th grade in Germany and a part of the interstate compact, they had to do this. Now, why is this such a big deal? Well, the active duty member had asked, and I forget what the leave is called when you PCS and you do house hunting, and is it house hunting? It's house hunting, right? Well, he had exhausted his house hunting. He was going to meeting after meeting. The wife was actually considering moving back to Germany because this child was smart, but at the same time, very, very reclusive, and thought that she was the reason that her father and mother were stressing. It was just causing all of this different strife, just between the family dynamic. So what I did, shot off an email to the Maryland Interstate Compact representative. Her name is Mary Gable. She's a very helpful lady. She sent it to Dr. Starr, went down, and it went down the chain until it got to where it needed to be. And I was happy that this child was able to receive the placement that they were supposed to have. So again, one of the most, in my opinion, important, and it's not legislation, it's just an agreement between states. Please remember the Interstate Compact. And I always tell my active duty members and my ombudsman, you may not need it now, but if you need it in the future, please just be aware that it exists, and the school liaison officers, and that's back to what Master Chief says. The sponsorship, the active duty members are given all of these resources about when you PCS, this is what you're going to do. My sole purpose is for the education of the child and making sure that that playing field is as level as possible when they graduate. One more kind of interesting story that I don't know how this is going to work out. I'm from Texas, the great state of Texas. And we do things kind of I'm not gonna say kind of backwards. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense. Well, they're thinking about doing away with Algebra 1 as a graduating requirement and incorporating it into geometry, Algebra 2, whatever. My question is, how is that going to affect DC, where even if you took Algebra 1 in 7th grade, which in California you can do, or 8th grade, and you don't have an official transcript that says a credit was issued, your senior year, if you get here, they'll still classify you as a freshman until you complete Algebra 1. Algebra 1 is something that all freshmen must take in DC. So again, you have two different conflicts. Now, I haven't had that, so I'm kind of following, but I find it very interesting. And I know I kind of jumped right into it, but I kind of wanted to, I get excited when I talk about education. A little bit of background about myself. And I started talking before I introduced myself. I'm the slow from JBAB. I kind of come at it from a different perspective, and that's why I get so excited. My father was a Vietnam veteran, so I was a dependent. I married an Air Force active duty member. She just recently retired after 20 years, so I've traveled around and followed her. I know Air Force ranks like the back of my hand. I was happy when I got to JBAB and I saw, familiar uniforms. I know those ranks. I'm not gonna have to guess when I got to the Navy base. And the reason why I bring that up, again, wife, and then my daughter is also autistic. So on the special education side, I've also had to deal with it from that side. And then in a former life, I was a principal and teacher. I've just done a lot of things. I don't know what I want to do when I grow up eventually, but I love what I do right now. And the only other thing that I can say really is the only other institution that tries to confuse people more than the military is the school district. And I laughed when I heard PERS 45 EF&P, and all of these different acronyms, and they're starting to make sense to me now. I joke that I'm happy that I'm at a joint base because I see Air Force ranks, but I figured out that a captain in the Navy is not a captain in the Army. That again, a lieutenant is not a lieutenant, and I'm finally getting all of that stuff. And the reason why I bring that up is in education. This is another real world thing that again I've had to deal with this. A COS from an SPED called about a parent that requested a due process hearing for an MRE placement into a BAC classroom. The COS of the LEA informed me that the parent thought he denied the request. After talking to number 53, according to the LSSP, the ARD IEP committee said the student was a D&Q for the BAC classroom because the results of the functional behavior assessment recommended he go back through the SST process. Now, to me, an education person, that made perfect sense. And basically all of that means is the superintendent called about a school and they were going through the process. The child didn't make it into a behavior classroom. They were did not qualify, but the ARD committee, which in Texas is the admission review and dismissal, to the IEP committee, which is the parent and the teachers, when they came together, there was some misunderstanding, and they thought that it was his decision that the child did not qualify, and it wasn't. There were a lot of things that went on. For one, you can't give a child an IQ test if the child requires glasses and they don't have the glasses on. Everything has to be functioning optimal in order to give those formal assessments, the norm reference tests, so forth and so on. So again, I say all of this to say that I'm here to help you through all of the acronym soup. If you look, there's a card in your folder, and it lists the 7 core things that we support. One of the growing, and I'm happy about this, is I get a lot of homeschool requests, going and coming. That's something that I'm super happy about it. That means parents are taking charge of their education. They see something either that they don't like or that they want to change, and they're taking that on. And kudos to parents who can do that. When I say the school liaison officer is here to support our homeschoolers, make sure that they are, again, on that level playing field. I know when you go from state to state, sometimes people, homeschool can be viewed as a negative thing in some states. I'm just going to be honest with you. I've had people actually call me and say that they were going to call CPS because they saw kids aren't going to school. And I'm like, well, no, they're homeschooled. They have that right to do that. Just because, you don't see what they're doing, they are doing stuff, okay? And there's a whole list of requirements, and again, I can help them with that. Deployment, we've talked about the inbound and outbound services. Post-secondary preparation, again, I've been sending out scholarship information through our through our Military Family Support Center or the FFSC to make sure that the information gets to parents. Provide local information about the schools, and did I forget anything? Probably one of the biggest things that, and I hate that I have to do this, is graduation requirements, because again, it's different from state to state. Even within a state, it can be different from county to county as far as what they offer, what they don't offer, especially when you go into foreign languages and stuff like that. So again, I just kind of wanted to give you the view from up here versus getting in the weeds. And does anyone have any questions? And I know I talked fast, but I hope I covered everything. I'm over in building P4. I'm available if you need me to come to your center. You have a parent that has a question, just let me know. I can meet them over there. However I can assist, I'm here for my parents. And my information is on the back of this card. Go back one more slide because I feel like I skipped it. want to make sure I covered everything. I'm sorry. Oh, connects youth, CYP to youth sponsorship programs. That's one of the things that we're definitely piloting here. Well, I'm going to say piloting. We have in place now where a parent calls, they say they have a 9th grader. What I'm going to do is get permission from the parent to send their permission to the youth center, and then they're going to assign them to a teenager, a base ambassador or youth sponsor, and then we can start that conversation between them so they can find out, hey, at JBAB, we go to the bowling alley on Friday. We go here, we go there. So again, we can try to make that process as smooth as possible when they do PCS. So again, I thank you for your time. If no questions? Yes, ma'am.
You work with Naval District Washington.
Well,
How does that? What schools? How far reaching?
Well, the national capital area, and that would be Naval District Washington is included. For example, there are school liaison officers at most of the big installations, and I say big installation because there's well, actually at all of them, because Fort Myer has one too. Now that I think about it, Fort Belvoir has a school liaison officer. So myself, I primarily take care of the District of Columbia. There is a SLO at Andrews who takes care of Prince George's County. We have a SLO at Bethesda who takes care of Montgomery County and Frederick. So again, if you have any questions about a particular area, then I would, after you contact me, if I don't have the answer, I will definitely warm hand off to the SLO wherever you want to live. One of the things that we always, I literally just had a question. A parent wants to live on the other side of Quantico and be stationed at the Pentagon. And again, geographically, it's only 40 miles, I guess. But I said that 40 miles in traffic, it may be something you want to Google at about 4 o'clock. But if they want to do that, then I'm going to connect them to the SLO at Quantico who takes care of that area, if that makes sense. And we all services we take care. Again, if you're here or at the Pentagon, and I'm going to do what I can to help you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Okay, so next on the training list and final is about housing and relocation. It'll be Ms. Bell.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm here to talk to you about the Housing Service Center. We offer on-base and off-base services with additional services outside of housing altogether, such as notary public. So if you need anything like that, let your people know they can come over to our office. We offer a little bit for off-base. I do the rental partnership program. I also would help somebody with their lease. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. We also offer lease readings, but we don't delve into it too much. So if it's too technical or they don't understand certain things, we will tell them they can go to the legal services or JAG office or something like that. But we will go over lease readings if they don't have some understanding. We also have addendums to leases. So if the lease doesn't include military clauses or foreclosure clause, we just created something for them to add to their leases so we can assist them with those kind of things. For on-base, we deal with 2 different housing offices. Joint Base Anacostia Bowling is sort of special in that way because most places deal with one private owner. We deal with 2 different private owners. Bowling has Hunt as their owner. Bellevue has Lincoln as their owner. At each one of those installations, we can house anybody. We don't discriminate, except Bellevue is enlisted only. Outside of that, you don't have to be a specific service to be housed there. We do offer houses to other than active duty military. You can be a DoD civilian, even a contractor, as long as we're in what we call the waterfall, which is based on occupancy to a degree. So if occupancy is low and vacancies are high for a certain amount of time, those homes can be offered to other than active duty families. We also offer just plain referral services. So we can refer you out in town. It doesn't have to be specific to anywhere. It can be anywhere you want to go. And just like the SLO said earlier, SLO, all the abbreviations, but just like he said earlier, we're not limited to any specific region or branch of service, so we can assist anyone. We have a special program off base called the Rental Partnership Program, which has about 135 communities on it. We've gone out into the community, DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and we've created some partnerships with communities where service members can go in and have no upfront fees. So they don't pay a security deposit, application fee, background credit check fee. They are not held to any income requirements. They simply go in, pay the prorated rent that's due, and they move in. They pay their rent by allotment. That's one of the criteria. And we assist with all of that from A to B, and we stay in touch with them. So if the community landlord has an issue, and it has happened, they've called us and we've gotten in touch with service members or commands and mediated different issues, and vice versa. I've had service members that haven't had a good experience, and they'll call me and say, hey, this isn't working out. And I've gotten them out of their leases prior to lease end with no penalty. So we stay involved from the beginning to the end, and we can help them with a plethora of, and they can come over to us and we tell them where to go if they need school